And for more, joining us live is Aditi Phadnis, senior journalist and contributing editor, Business Standard. Thank you so much, Ms. Phadnis, for joining us on the broadcast. Now, what started as this satirical movement online, it has resulted in the resignation of Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. But Ms. Phadnis, this is a big development. But Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation is only one of the three core demands of the CJP, which they have said are non-negotiable. What's your reading of this development?
Well, to be completely honest, I was surprised that Dharmendra Pradhan elected to resign. It is a big step down for the government to take, as opposition leaders are saying. If he was to resign, he could have done it earlier, and all this this kind of decimation of public opinion and the kind of the humiliation of the Prime Minister and the government, we would not have seen. But it's there now, and it's on the table now, and the kind of posters that are up, the kind of mobilization that has happened, the demands that are being chanted, the slogans that are being chanted, all that is really deleterious to the reputation of the government. We should not forget that in 2024, this government returned to power, although with a lower majority. They were down from 303 to 240. The alliance partners were so important to them that the Prime Minister, when addressing BJP workers in his thank you speech, referred repeatedly to the NDA and not the BJP. All this suggests that there was an attrition already of support for the government, and that attrition is showing itself in a very vocal way now in the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan. What happens going forward? There are two things that can happen. One is the students' movement gets greedy. It wants more and more. It has already secured the resignation of the education minister. It has tasted blood, and now it feels it can topple the government altogether. I don't think that's a very realistic proposition, and nor is it desirable. It has achieved a part of what it wanted to achieve. It must insist on the other two demands that it has, and then it must disband and go home and study. And when the time comes, then assert itself through the ballot box to make its presence felt, to make its demands known. We have seen in the past a lot of such movements. They have, the fact is that strong passions cannot remain at boiling point forever and ever. So you must decide what you want to do once the passions ebb, and then figure out a way in which you can make your anger and your rage and your sense of frustration felt.
Right, and undoubtedly these young protesters have achieved this remarkable feat. And in fact, they have added this one more demand, which is the apology from the RAF and police to their three core demands, which they started out with. And of course, the sticking point, which was Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation, it's been done. And the other two have also been received quite positively by the government. But having said that, how do you anticipate the BJP to manage this political fallout and the cabinet changes which are expected to ensue after this?
Well, the cabinet changes have been in the works for a long time. We've been hearing about them sporadically for the last 6 months. There is a cabinet reshuffle that is due, but in my understanding, cabinet reshuffles rarely take place in the middle of Parliament. So once the Parliament session has ended, which will be mid August, after the Independence Day fervor is over, you will probably see a thorough overhaul of the Council of Ministers.
We understand that Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation is not enough to call off the protest, at least for now. And this has been a protest which has captured the collective imagination and conscience of our nation for over a month now. How do you see it panning out, and what would be a meaningful breakthrough here that would, urge the protesters to finally call it off and go home, as you mentioned earlier?
The first thing is, if the police is there, the police is not there to be gentle and to be kind and to be benevolent. It's not there for that. It is there for coercive action. So to expect gentleness from the police is, I think, not a very realistic expectation. That said, I don't think the police were as brutal as they have been in the past, and they could have been. So we should, we, I mean, we should release, give some quarter to the police for doing its job. Uh, there are very serious systemic problems right from kindergarten, from when children are 2 and 3 years old,
Right.
with our education system. People who cannot afford to send their children to kindergarten, just, it is, the costs are prohibitive. And it's not just the cost, it's the whole structure of education, which is completely, it needs to be completely overhauled. I don't think the government is capable. There are so many vested interests that I don't think this government is capable of doing that. Frankly, no government is capable of overhauling the entire system, which is run both by state governments and by central governments. But this is not the time to, rewrite history in history books in NCERT, and to say who came and who attacked India and who are its enemies. I don't think this is the time for that. Frankly, you need to you need to overhaul the vested interests that are running our educational system, and you need to completely revamp the way in which you look at education now, today.
Right, and having said that, this is an achievement and this is a big feat for this, the first steps of bringing about this systemic overhaul of the education system. And it has definitely brought it into, the mainstream discourse as we're discussing it. But again, it is a developing situation. And we'll have to wait and see how this progresses. But for now, thank you so much, Ms. Phadnis, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your valuable perspective with us.
Thank you.